Hello, namaste, welcome to our channel. The bald eagle is the national bird of the United States. The Indian peacock is the national bird of India. The golden eagle is the national bird of Mexico, Albania, Kazakhstan, and Afghanistan. The African fish eagle is the national bird of Malawi, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The Andean condor is the national bird of Bolivia, Colombia, Chile, and Ecuador. The Saker falcon is the national bird of the United Arab Emirates, Mongolia, and Hungary. The barn swallow is the national bird of both Austria and Estonia. The turquoise-browed motmot is the national bird of both El Salvador and Nicaragua. The oriental magpie is the national bird of both South Korea and North Korea. The gray-crowned crane is the national bird of both Tanzania and Uganda. The black-crowned crane is the national bird of Nigeria.
The emu is the national bird of Australia. The kiwi is the national bird of New Zealand.
The red-crowned crane is the national bird of China. The European robin is the national bird of UK. The Canada jay is the national bird of Canada. The green pheasant is the national bird of Japan. The blue crane is the national bird of South Africa. The mute swan is the national bird of Denmark. The chukar partridge is the national bird of Pakistan. The Philippine eagle is the national bird of Philippines. The rufous-bellied thrush is the national bird of Brazil.
The Javan hawk eagle is the national bird of Indonesia.
The oriental magpie robin is the national bird of Bangladesh. The steppe eagle is the national bird of Egypt. The rhinoceros hornbill is the national bird of Malaysia. The rufous hornero is the national bird of Argentina. The common blackbird is the national bird of Sweden. The Eurasian hoopoe is the national bird of Israel. The black-tailed godwit is the national bird of the Netherlands. The Himalayan monal is the national bird of Nepal. The Sri Lankan jungle fowl is the national bird of Sri Lanka. The Siamese fireback is the national bird of Thailand. The Kori bustard is the national bird of Botswana. The giant ibis is the national bird of Cambodia. The resplendent quetzal is the national bird of Guatemala. The scarlet macaw is the national bird of Honduras.
The gyrfalcon is the national bird of Iceland.
The red-billed streamertail is the national bird of Jamaica. The white-tailed eagle is the national bird of Poland. The Venezuelan troupial is the national bird of Venezuela. The bare-throated bellbird is the national bird of Paraguay. The harpy eagle is the national bird of Panama. The white-throated dipper is the national bird of Norway. The Cuban trogon is the national bird of Cuba. The clay-colored thrush is the national bird of Costa Rica. The common raven is the national bird of Bhutan. The common kestrel is the national bird of Belgium. The white stork is the national bird of Ukraine. The Mauritius kestrel is the national bird of Mauritius. The common nightingale is the national bird of Iran. The eastern imperial eagle is the national bird of Serbia. The Cicero parrot is the national bird of Dominica. The keel-billed toucan is the national bird of Belize. The white-eared bulbul is the national bird of Bahrain. The American flamingo is the national bird of the Bahamas. The magnificent frigate bird is the national bird of Antigua and Barbuda. The palmchat is the national bird of Dominican Republic. The purple-crested turaco is the national bird of Eswatini. The hoatzin is the national bird of Guyana. The Hispaniolan trogon is the national bird of Haiti. The Sinai rosefinch is the national bird of Jordan. The white wagtail is the national bird of Latvia. The Andean cock of the rock is the national bird of Peru. The common bulbul is the national bird of Liberia. The white stork is the national bird of Lithuania. The goldcrest is the national bird of Luxembourg. The blue rock thrush is the national bird of Malta. The Rajiana bird of paradise is the national bird of Papua New Guinea. The white stork is the national bird of Belarus. The scarlet ibis is the national bird of Trinidad and Tobago. The rufous-vented chachalaca is the national bird of Trinidad and Tobago. The red-crested turaco is the national bird of Angola. The golden eagle is the national bird of Romania. The northern lapwing is the national bird of Ireland. The common nightingale is the national bird of Croatia. The Congo peafowl is the national bird of Democratic Republic of the Congo. The common kingfisher is the national bird of Czech Republic. The whooper swan is the national bird of Finland. The common pheasant is the national bird of Georgia. The Italian sparrow is the national bird of Italy. The lilac-breasted roller is the national bird of Kenya. The gray peacock pheasant is the national bird of Myanmar. The crimson sunbird is the national bird of Singapore. The southern lapwing is the national bird of Uruguay. The secretary bird is the national bird of Sudan. The Spanish imperial eagle is the national bird of Spain. The Barbary partridge is the national bird of Algeria. The Mousier's redstart is the national bird of Morocco. The Saker falcon is the national bird of Saudi Arabia.